Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my FXmovies.20 channel? Thank you so much. I never thought I would be the kind of person to cross a line, but sometimes life takes you in directions you never expected. My name is Sarah, and I've been married to my husband, Daniel, for 10 years. We built a life together, shared dreams, and promised to always be there for each other. But somewhere along the way, things changed. I changed, or maybe we both did. Daniel and I met in college. He was kind, responsible, and had a quiet strength that made me feel safe. Our love story wasn't one of wild passion or dramatic gestures. It was steady, like the foundation of a house built to last. We got married young, believing that love and commitment would be enough to weather any storm, and for a long time they were. The early years of our marriage were filled with love and laughter. We traveled, made a home together, and supported each other's dreams. But as time went on, the little moments that once brought us closer started fading. Daniel was always working hard, trying to build a stable future for us. I understood why he wanted to provide, to make sure we never had to struggle, but in doing so, he started to drift away from me. Our conversations became short and practical. Did you pay the electricity bill? What time is your meeting tomorrow? We need to buy groceries. We still loved each other, but the warmth between us started to fade. I told myself it was normal. This is what happens in long-term relationships. The passion cools, but love remains. Then I met Aaron. He was my colleague at work, and at first he was just that, someone I collaborated with on projects, exchanged emails with, and occasionally grabbed coffee with. He was funny, charming, and had a way of making people feel seen. Unlike Daniel, who was always buried in his responsibilities, Aaron was present. He listened, he noticed things. It started with small conversations, harmless, I told myself. I'd mentioned a book I was reading, and he'd actually ask about it later. He'd notice if I seemed stressed and offer a kind word. It wasn't anything inappropriate, just the kind of attention that makes you feel valued. I didn't realize how much I had been craving that. One day, we were assigned to work on a major project together. It meant late nights, brainstorming sessions, and long hours sitting side by side. At first, I kept a clear boundary in my mind. I was married, and I loved my husband. But the more time I spent with Aaron, the more I realized how lonely I had been. He made me laugh in a way I hadn't laughed in years. He made me feel interesting, like I was more than just a wife who managed schedules and responsibilities. And then there was a moment, a simple, seemingly insignificant moment that changed everything. We were working late, and I was exhausted. Let out a deep sigh, rubbing my temples. He reached out, just briefly, and touched my hand. "You work too hard," he said with a soft smile. It was such a small thing, but it felt like the first real moment of connection I had experienced in a long time. I told myself it was nothing, just a friendly gesture, but that night as I lay in bed beside Daniel, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not because of the touch itself, but because of what it meant. I was missing something in my marriage, and for the first time I was willing to admit it. The weeks passed, and my connection with Aaron deepened. I told myself it was just friendship. After all, we never crossed any physical boundaries. But emotionally, I was already somewhere I shouldn't be. I looked forward to work in a way I hadn't before. I lingered in conversations with him, laughing a little too long, sharing a little too much. One evening, Daniel and I sat at the dinner table in silence. He was scrolling through his phone, barely noticing that I was there. I realized then how easy it had been to slip away from each other. How had we become strangers? I wanted to talk to him, to tell him that I was feeling lost, that I needed more from him, but I didn't. Instead, the next morning, I found myself waiting for Aaron's smile at work. I don't know when exactly it turned into something more. Maybe it was the late-night talks or the way he looked at me like I was someone special. Maybe it was the moment I started dressing with more care in the mornings, hoping he'd notice. Maybe it was the way he made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. But I do know that one day, I found myself in a place I never thought I would be, questioning everything I believed about love, marriage, and loyalty. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure if I wanted to stop. I wish I could say that I recognized the danger early on and walked away before it was too late, but the truth is, emotions don't work that way. You don't wake up one day and decide to let your heart drift. You just take one small step, then another, and before you know it, you're standing somewhere you never imagined yourself to be. Aaron became a part of my daily life in a way I never anticipated. It wasn't dramatic or obvious, at least not at first. It was in the small things. The way we'd exchange knowing glances across the conference room, the way his voice softened when he asked how my day was going, the way I found myself checking my phone just to see if he had messaged. I told myself it was harmless. After all, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was still coming home to Daniel every night, still sleeping beside him, still wearing the ring that symbolized our vows. But in my heart, I knew I had already begun to drift away from him. One evening, as Daniel and I sat in the living room, I noticed how quiet we had become. He was watching the news, absorbed in the latest financial updates, while I sat with a book in my lap, pretending to read. I wanted to talk to him, to reach for his hand, to tell him how much I missed him. But every time I tried to find the words, they caught in my throat. I wondered if he noticed the distance growing between us, if he missed me the way I missed him. But he never said anything, so I convinced myself that I wasn't really doing anything wrong. But the truth was that I had already built a separate world for myself, one where Aaron was the person I looked forward to seeing every day, one where I felt understood, appreciated, and seen. Then one evening everything changed. We had been working late on a project, just the two of us in the office. The air conditioning was humming softly, and outside, the city lights flickered against the windows. We had been laughing about something, one of those silly inside jokes that had developed between us, and for a moment, I forgot everything else. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and the air between us shifted. "Sarah," he said softly, "can I ask you something?" I hesitated. "Of course. Are you happy?" The question hit me harder than I expected. I opened my mouth to answer, but the words wouldn't come because the truth was complicated. I loved Daniel. I had built a life with him. But happiness? I wasn't sure when I had last felt truly happy. Aaron didn't press me for an answer. He just watched me, his expression unreadable. And for a moment, I felt like I was standing at the edge of something dangerous. "I should go," I whispered, standing up too quickly. He didn't stop me. He didn't reach for my hand or try to pull me back. But as I walked away, I felt something in my chest tighten. That night, as I lay in bed next to Daniel, I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me. I had to make a choice, but how do you choose between the life you've built and the feelings you can't ignore? I wish I could say that I made the right choice right away, that I took a step back, realized the path I was heading down, and stopped myself before it was too late. But emotions aren't logical, and sometimes the hardest thing to do is the right thing. So instead of pulling away, I let myself fall a little further. I started finding reasons to stay at work late, reasons to text Aaron outside of work hours. The messages were innocent, at least at first. A joke about a meeting, a recommendation for a book, a simple "hope your day is going well." But it was never just about the words. It was about the feeling behind them, the excitement of seeing his name pop up on my screen, the way my heart raced when I walked into the office knowing he would be there. Then one evening, Daniel asked me something that made my heart stop. "You've been distracted lately," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Is everything okay?" I froze. This was the moment I could have told him the truth, not about Aaron, but about how I had been feeling, how I missed him, how I wanted more from our marriage. But instead, I forced a smile and said, "I'm just stressed with work." He nodded, accepting my answer without question, and in that moment, I realized something that broke my heart. Daniel trusted me completely, and I was betraying that trust. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours, feeling sick with guilt. What was I doing? Was I really willing to risk everything I had built with Daniel for something that might not even be real? Aaron made me feel alive, but Daniel was the man who had stood by my side for years, the man who had held me when I cried, who had celebrated my victories, who had promised to love me even on the hard days. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I walked into work with a decision already made. I was going to put distance between Aaron and me. I would focus on my marriage, on rebuilding what had been lost. But when I saw him standing by the coffee machine with that easy smile, my resolve wavered. Because the truth, the messy, painful truth, was that I wasn't sure if I wanted to let him go, and that terrified me more than anything. The weight of my choices pressed down on me like an unbearable burden. I had spent weeks, months dancing on the edge of a line I knew I shouldn't cross. I told myself I was still in control, that I hadn't done anything truly wrong, but deep down I knew that wasn't true. The emotional distance I had created with Daniel was real. The connection I had built with Aaron was undeniable. And now, standing at the crossroads of my marriage, I had to decide what kind of person I wanted to be. That morning, I forced myself to do what I had been avoiding for so long. I looked at my husband, really looked at him. He was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping his coffee, his eyes scanning the news on his phone like he did every morning. The familiarity of it made my chest tighten. This was the man I had built a life with, the man who had been there for me through everything. And yet, I had been slipping away from him. I took a deep breath. "Daniel," I said. He glanced up, surprised. "Yeah." I hesitated. The words I wanted to say felt too big, too heavy. But I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I miss us, I said softly. Something in his expression changed. He put his phone down and studied me for a long moment. What do you mean? I swallowed hard. I feel like we've been drifting apart, like we don't talk the way we used to. I don't want us to turn into strangers. He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. I guess I've been so focused on work that I didn't realize how distant things had gotten. His eyes searched mine. Are you unhappy? The honesty in his voice almost broke me. I love you, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, but I feel like I've been missing something. And instead of talking to you about it, I let myself look for it somewhere else. His face went pale. What are you saying? I felt the sting of tears in my eyes. I've been emotionally invested in someone at work. Nothing happened physically, but I let myself get too close to someone else. The silence that followed was crushing. Daniel stared at me, and I could see the pain in his eyes. It was the kind of pain I never wanted to cause him, and yet I had. Why are you telling me this now? He finally asked, his voice tight. Because I don't want to lose you, I said, my heart pounding. I realized that whatever I thought I was missing, it was never about Aaron, it was about us, and I didn't want to throw away what we have. He looked away, his jaw clenched. I don't know what to say. I don't expect you to have an answer right away, I admitted, but I need you to know that I'm choosing you, that I want to fix this. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he stood up, running a hand through his hair. I need time, he finally said, to process this, to figure out what it means for us. I nodded, knowing I had to respect that. I understood. That day at work, I made a decision. I needed to end things with Aaron, not just the conversations or the lingering glances, but the emotional hold he had on me. When I saw him in the hallway, he smiled like he always did, but I didn't return it. Can we talk? I asked. Of course, he said, his smile fading as he sensed the seriousness in my voice. We found a quiet corner in the office, and I took a deep breath. Aaron, I need to step back. His brows furrowed. Sarah, what's going on? I've been fooling myself into thinking that what we have is just friendship, I admitted. But the truth is, I've been emotionally unfaithful to my husband, and I can't keep doing this. He looked hurt. I never wanted to cause problems in your marriage. I know, I said softly. This isn't about you, it's about me, about the choices I've been making. I need to fix my marriage, and that means I need to create distance between us. Aaron nodded slowly, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. I understand. With that, I walked away. The days that followed were difficult. Daniel was distant, and I couldn't blame him. Trust isn't something you rebuild overnight, but I knew one thing for certain. I was going to fight for us. I started being present in our marriage again. I initiated conversations, planned date nights, and most importantly, I listened. I listened to Daniel when he talked about his day, about his worries, about his dreams. Slowly, little by little, I saw the walls between us begin to break down. One evening, as we sat on the couch together, Daniel reached for my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it meant everything. I'm still hurt, he admitted, but I don't want to give up on us either. Tears welled in my eyes. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. He squeezed my hand. Then let's start again. In that moment, I knew love isn't about never making mistakes, it's about choosing each other even when things get hard. I was ready to choose Daniel every single day for the rest of my life. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below. Have you ever faced challenges in your relationships? How did you handle them? We'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you more powerful stories. Thanks for watching.